Okay.
2 minutes.
You know, the interesting thing I found about the separation of powers ordinance is it only addresses the powers and authorities of the judicial branch. And now it was approved in what, 1998? And the powers and authorities of the executive branch and the legislative branch have never been fleshed out. This has caused a lot of problems because this has caused the legislative branch to believe certain authorities lay under that branch, and the administration would say, no, that's under the executive branch. And you know what? While all this was going on, the judicial branch held the tribal government together because things were filed in court, were decided in the judicial branch. And I thought, good Lord, they have just made the judicial branch the most powerful branch in the tribe, and it shouldn't be that way. So, you know, it's difficult. Are we saying if we're going to revise the Constitution, we need to take a look at there are some revisions that need to be done, but in that process, we really need to flesh it out completely and get all the powers of both branches in place, and we're going to have a lot less problems between the three branches, and I think we're going to work a lot better together. And yes, I will work to initiate that.
I would include a separation of powers with constitutional revision. I think it's important that we understand that revising our Constitution is not going to be done by lawyers, it's going to be done by the people. And I think that it would have to be vetted out, it would have to be given to the districts, to the community, to understand, you know, it's going to be a huge undertaking for educating our community on our Constitution. First of all, the current one we have, so we can understand what's wrong with it. We can understand issues that are allowing us to be ineffective as a government. I think that, of course, strengthening three branches of government is important. We need a separation of powers ordinance to address the executive branch and its powers, which is the president's branch of government. And then we need a more distinct separation of powers to address the legislator's role. Too often this becomes interpreted in constitutional court. Too often we're not addressing an impasse, if we have one. If we have a removal that I've seen in my time as counsel, where we've had to have the Bureau come in and tell us who's our president. I think we need to ensure that our Constitution fits us, it benefits us, but it addresses our issues of recall and impasse. Impasse is when we can't make a decision, when we can't come to a conclusion. And we have to be able to address it. And if that includes some of our cultural ways and traditional law, then let's include that in our constitutional revision and make it part of who we are as a government. First of all, I would remind council that they swear an oath to the people and that they uphold ethical standards. And in doing so, when we carry out our goal as a government, we do it for the people together. I think getting our council to move forward on initiatives means, again, that idea of consensus, that we are all selected by the people, by the community, by our membership, to better our reservation, to better our conditions, and to make a future for our children. I would require, again, accountability and transparency, but I would also remind them that their oath is not just mere words uttered to collect a salary paycheck. I would ask that they follow through with a resolution we pass that requires us, and only few of us are doing it, to account for our time, to account for where we're at and what we're doing on a daily basis. I think taking that step further, I would post that on the internet. I would post my monthly calendar for the people and have the council do the same. That way we all know who our boss is, and that's the people. And that's what I would remind our leadership, that's why we're here, and keeping that open line of communication with our district, having that community mobilization project where the people decide or give us recommendations on what they'd like to see in our communities, and we move forward with it. But we all agree on it, that we have a goal together to complete for our people.
I'm not sure it's really a strategy, but it's just my approach to things. You know, in my job as judge, I work with a number of parties that aren't getting along, and we spend a lot of time in the court, not simply making a decision, but narrowing things down to resolve what the issues are and come away where each party is somewhat satisfied and it meets the requirements of the law. That same strategy works as the president. I believe it's the job of the president to allow the council to do their job, to work on these matters, to present matters, but if they get to a stalemate, and this is something that we see a real need for and that is going to really impact the people and it's necessary, it's the job of the president to go in, take that step, take that initiative, go meet with the council, whether individually as groups or whatever, to do that same thing, do some problem resolution, to bring them down to the common issues, what they can agree on. And the thing about it is, you might walk away with less than what you wanted, but you're gonna get something accomplished that's gonna help the people. Any employees in the house? You know, that's one of the strengths of any program, is to have your employees there when they're supposed to be, to put in a full day's work, a good day's work, a productive day's work, and go home when you're supposed to. We do a lot of in-house training at the court, and that's one of the things we always emphasize. And you know what? I don't emphasize it. The staff emphasizes it because that's what they believe in at the court, and it's because they've worked under that obligation for so long, and it's become a part of who they are. And that's exactly what I would take over to the other tribal employees. We're stealing from our own people, we're stealing from the government if we're not there when we're supposed to be and we're not being productive. The public, again, is why we're there. We have to treat the people with respect. And I always say, you treat the people the way that you would want to be treated, and most people are going to be okay with that. Most people just want an answer or some direction, and we can give that to them. That's our job. That gets back down to basic communications and just being good to one another.
I think this goes back to the vision, you know, and if our major purpose as a government is to provide service for our people, then that should be our goal. And if our employees are not in line with that goal, then they don't need to be here. And that sounds kind of harsh, but I heard it before. I heard it with education. If you're not here to benefit or educate our children, and you're here for other things, for personal gratification, to gossip in the workplace, to play solitaire, you don't need to be here. Your number one job is to serve our people. And I think what you do with the staff is you do professional development. We run our government like a business, okay? And that goes back to creating an actual human resources department, okay? An actual department that deals with benefits And let's start offering our employees benefits and incentives. This tribal holiday, I've been on it for 8 years. It used to be my spiel. It's the only thing we can offer. That's not true. Our administration hasn't even looked into offering benefits for our employees, retirement, a 401k. Those are things we can do. Run our tribal government like a business. In 2013, next year, we're going to be eligible for Obamacare. We can offer our employees the same health benefits IHS and congressmen get. That's what we need to do for our employees. What are we doing? We're giving them incentives to be better workers. We're making it a healthy environment, and we're growing as a government. And those services will, in turn, improve because, again, we have to look at our tribal membership, our clients, as customers using our tribal services. And we got to do better at it.